Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Master of Command. The game has now been fully released on Steam and is available for everyone. Well, everyone that is willing to purchase the game, that is. With that, I do believe that part of the update that came with this, that the Rise of Frederick campaign should now work. So, I thought we'd go ahead and play that. Right, so I've already tested out and played the first chapter, just to see. Compared to before, when I had the early version, before released, it had some problems. Now, at least the first battle seems to work, so I believe we should be able to take on the entire campaign. With that, let's go ahead and play Shadow of Mollwitz, the chapter 1.
Ich bin Friedrich, König in Preußen. Als ich die Thronfolge antrat, waren wir ein Kleinstaat. Respektiert, aber niemals gefürchtet. Meine erste Schlacht, Mollwitz, hätte ein Kunststück aus Disziplin und Strategie sein sollen. Stattdessen schickte man mich vom Schlachtfeld. Und Generalfeldmarschall Schwerin, meines Vaters vertrauenswürdigster General, gewann an jenem Tag ohne mich. Mollwitz war meine Schule. Die Kavallerie wurde inzwischen reformiert. Die Infanterie, die ohne mich kämpfte, verwandelte ich in eine Streitmacht, welche niemals ins Wanken gerät. Und diesmal stehe ich mit meinen Männern bis zum Ende.
Eure Majestät, ein Verband österreichischer Grenzer, 2, vielleicht 3 Bataillone, wurden bei der Überquerung der Neiße gesichtet. Scheinbar sind sie sich unserer Präsenz unbewusst.
Dann werden sie nicht mit einem Gefecht rechnen. Wir greifen an.
And here we have it, the first deployment. For this first part, it's just a battle. I'm not entirely sure if the entire campaign is just like 4 different battles we go through, or because I haven't tested stage 2 yet. We'll see. Perhaps it's just 4 battles, but who knows. So my idea here is that we will just allow, as I probably rolled the history behind it, or the story, that they are unawares of us. The AI is probably aware of us, but I imagine that we'll have the best chance of allowing the enemy to come across and then smite them. So we've got 2 regular musketeer units, then we have 1 grenadier, and we also have a hussar, and then of course the king. Now I'm thinking that I'll just make a line with the infantry, so as to get the enemy to cross. Once they cross, we'll march up, allow them to fire first, march in, then fire, and then I'll just kind of charge down everything. And that's how we're gonna win. Right. So we'll march up quite rapidly here. Not really necessary, because I want the enemy to gain a load of ground. But we're gonna do it anyways. And then the hussars will be placed in a flank. If there's an opportunity for the hussars to take out the enemy Grenzers, if they move too fast beyond everyone, then that would be great. Right, so this one has quite low movement speed, or it's slightly lower, as we can see, because of the terrain, which is difficult there in town. However, they all kind of move at the same pace here, and it is good as well that we have decided to place ourselves in column formation. Right, the enemy looks like they're halting. They're not going to advance just yet. They're going to keep the formation as they advance here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the units to hold volley fire, so that I am in control when they fire. since it's going to be quite important that we release the fire at the same time. Now... so... in my previous attempt at playing the battle, the enemy actually came across. They're not crossing now. Crossing there under heavy fire is probably a bad idea. That's actually interesting. The AI is not just going to cross into my field of death, as it were. They're actually going to hold there. Pretty clever of them. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross, but I'm obviously not going to cross where they are prepared. So instead we're going to go down the river, and then we're going to cross here, and then we're going to line up here instead. I'm going to have the cavalry move with us, but I'm thinking rather than having the cavalry cross with the rest of the army, they could instead cross at the point here in the river. Now, when I actually take action here and start moving, the enemy now looks poised to cross the river. Their grenadier seems to be heading this way, while their fusiliers seems to be heading towards my line infantry. Interestingly enough, they're not sending over their light infantry first. It could be that they realize that they are potentially... This unit is marching very fast. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm not gonna take fire onto my cavalry or my grenadiers by this unit. We're supposed to... now he's turning. I will go hard on that bastard, and then I will actually advance the entire line now. Right, so I'm expecting these guys, of course, to fire at this unit. They'll fire early, though. And as we march forward here, we can see the reload of the enemy. So I have plenty of time here to march up and fire at very close range. And I'm going to be able to fire with both units. And not only that... Now, they are about to... I perhaps should not have waited that long, because I'm gonna have allowed them to fire again. They fired on the Grenadier. The Grenadier ended up losing about 90 men. But now we get another shot off here. Oh, and let's not forget this unit, which is about to get a really good shot at close range at this unit. And now my Grenadiers go in for the charge. We'll add on to that to make sure that we don't lose too many men. And the enemy unit is shattered, which is perfect. Now I want to recall my unit, because there's no point in wasting time trying to break a unit like that when it's already broken. Now their cavalry is actually coming across. So it's going to be important to hold fire here and try to fire to break up their charge. Now they're not... I'm not entirely certain we will be ready to fire a volley, so it could be actually advisable here to break up the volley fire ability here. Volley fire ability. Break up the volley fire. So as to... they're about to fire... The Grensers are about to fire. And I'll allow them to fire at long range like this. And then I'll have my cavalry sweep in and kill them. You should be aiming for this. You gotta keep it... I notice sometimes that they sometimes are not too rational in picking what unit they're about to fire at. I'm gonna advance my entire army at this point. And they have loaded only about half. And it's time to charge. Initial high losses on my hussars, but the enemy broke very quickly. They didn't have much morale left after the rest of their army was completely shattered. And there we have it. Victory in the first battle. Now the first battle is very easy because there's not a lot of units and you are placed with a stronger force than the enemy. Now, Chapter 2, March to the Redemption. I have not played this, so this will be new for me, perhaps as well as you, if you've not played the game.
Der Winter in Schlesien gab uns Zuversicht. Unser Scharmützel gegen die Grenzer war eine sorgfältige und präzise Angelegenheit. Nun jedoch erreicht uns eine große österreichische Streitmacht bei Chotositz in Böhmen. Und ich sitze einen guten Tagesmarsch von meinen Männern entfernt. Wir müssen die Nacht durchmarschieren, um die Armee zu retten. Dies wird meine wahre Herausforderung. Meine Chance, die Schande von Mollwitz reinzuwaschen.
Friedrich, die linke Flanke ist am Zusammenbrechen. Meine Kavallerie kann nicht länger standhalten. Solltet ihr zögern, so drohen wir die Schlacht zu verlieren.
Mollwitz war mit der Armee meines Vaters. In Chotositz wird es meine sein. Eilschritt! Wir müssen zuschlagen, bevor die Österreicher unsere Linie durchbrechen.
Right, so what it looks like is that each step is just another battle, but it's not like we're not going to be campaigning. So it'll be increasingly tougher and tougher battles. What does Mr. Austria have? I have a clear advantage in artillery, which is different from my my regular campaign. Now normally I want to place the artillery on hills. However, I don't have horse artillery, so they're gonna move rather slow. We have a movement speed of 25. At this point, I don't really... I want to check one thing. What is the range of their artillery? Their artillery has kind of poor morale, and it has 400 range, which is the same as ours. So we'll be reaching each other roughly at the same time. Right. I think that what I will do is we'll have let's see. So I have a number of grenadiers in the army. We have 2 grenadiers. I figure we've got a lot of open ground, more so on my right side than on my left. We'll advance quickly. We'll set up a line somewhere, hopefully along the road here. Once there, I will put extra troops towards the right flank, where I'll have where I will attack with cavalry and grenadiers. Right, that's the plan anyways. We'll start marching everything up. Quite a bit of cavalry as well. I figure the cuirassiers and the dragoons will stay to protect the center, as I'm weakening the center when I'm not moving. God damn it, I forgot to move all the troops. And then we'll have just the hussars to aid on this side, so that once the units that we break here are broken, I don't have to follow them with infantry, which will spend the stamina of the unit. Stamina is quite important, because when you have low stamina, basically every single stat falls and you become very vulnerable. You can imagine yourself having to fight the tough battle when you're tired, compared to when you are What's the difference? What's the alert? I don't know. When you're not tired. There we go. Right. Now my cavalry is actually marching up faster than the rest of the force, which should be no surprise since they're on horseback. With the way the enemy has lined itself up now, they are actually tilted away from me over here, which means my grenadiers will have a longer time advancing to that position, which actually works out worse for me. Right now. One advantage the enemy has is that they have one unit of light infantry there. I'm also here noticing that my forces are kind of compact on this side. We have a big gap here. Not that the enemy will go ahead and try and exploit that. One thing that I have noted is that with the new update, there was a move to have the armies not just constantly move on the attack. I feel like it's now turned to the opposite. I have the artillery advantage in this case, so I will be able to pummel the enemies into submission with just the superior amount of artillery. So the enemy would be inclined to move to close the fight as soon as possible and not linger, which now they are actually moving on the attack. They were just waiting for the line to come into battle here. I would like to gain the hill, but I don't think I will. And I was hoping they will actually take the hill before me. I could try and rush the hill, but I would be... we will actually order these troops to fall back slightly just because of the hill. I believe you do get a bonus, but it's not a super big bonus. It's like, I know for the artillery it's 10 accuracy. Right, we have units starting to fire, so we've started firing down here. Very even exchange of fire. I note that I think the enemy the enemy outranges us here slightly. So I will just have to advance here. To be within proper range of the enemy. I'm also noticing that the enemy is coming very close over here. And I've known from previous battles that the enemy will try, I think, to actually fire upon my cannons and destroy them. So that's why I've charged there. I marched up here because you can see the enemy is all over the place. But I have to cover because we're not performing a proper line there. So I have to kind of cover it. I lost a lot of stamina charging that far, which wasn't that great. So even though I outnumber the smaller Grenzer unit, we are not breaking them as easily as I would have thought. Also, I'm gonna march up here, try and stop them there. This unit is now actually going to charge this unit. I will order it back just to come in line with the rest. And oh, they're moving fast. Alright, finally we broke that. Costly and a little bit stupid to do that, but I was worried about my cannons. The fire of the Dragoon and my counter charge. Now my charge didn't load up fully, but the enemy is just about half my strength. That was lucky. I was just able to notice that and fire upon the enemy. Okay, so there's another cavalry charge here, so I want to go ahead and tell the unit we're gonna have to counter charge here. The cuirassiers have to go in and aid because these guys are so tired, so they're going to retreat right away. God damn it, I am all over the place. And now I have a unit here right in the enemy's flank. Oh, they fired at my hussars instead? Which has allowed my grenadiers. Grenadiers focusing there. Okay, cuirassiers, recall the cuirassiers. I figure now that the enemy artillery is broken. I'll order the artillery to break up the formation of enemies here. I figure the cavalry should actually be moved more towards the center to aid here. This guy is running. He's shattered even. The hussar will move around. So even though we're a little bit all over the place, I figure the 2 grenadiers and the hussars will deal with that. So I'll order this unit to turn around to face this way as well. Right. I feel like my dragoons should have a pretty good or easy attack right. I will hold fire because it looks like that cavalry is coming in my way. They'll have to regain stamina before I even think about pushing them into battle again. I think we'll perhaps get a full volley here. Or perhaps not. It's better to be safe than sorry. Fire as they come out of the woods. We didn't break them upon charge, but we did still tremendous damage to them, and they were forced back. Right, back to standard. Let's see. You will move slightly back. I'm sitting on my leg, and my leg has fallen asleep. Is this something that commanders back in the day had to worry about? I'm sure of it. Right, we took a shot, but I'm thinking we'll just overwhelm them on this side because we have overwhelming amount of power here. The dragoons will be moved in to try and deal with this. As long as I don't move my leg that has fallen asleep, I should be fine. So here you can see this unit is a normal infantry unit, and it's really tired, and you can see the stats have fallen on everything. So preferably we wouldn't go into battle before we are no longer tired. Right, we sent the enemy off there, there's no point in pursuing that. They're turning to face the cuirassiers. The cuirassiers, it's not a super good charge because it's through a wooded area and the enemies... Oh, I forgot that I'd aimed the artillery on them. Oh, you're running low on ammo here as well. They're down to 25%. However, these guys have been gaining up a little bit of stamina here. But they're gaining rather slowly. Since it's the last unit though, I think we can safely go ahead and execute the right maneuver to destroy the enemy. And I can turn the artillery, can I not? So, there we go. The enemy has 21 morale. I figured that they're going to break any second now. They're down to 70-15. This volley will break them. And there we have victory. We've beaten the Austrians. It was a little bit difficult to manage such a long battle line. Luckily though, I was able to counter most of the difficult situations, and we ended up victorious in this battle, and the Austrians were seen off. I figure here, since the battles are getting larger and longer, I will go ahead and end this video right here, and then we'll do the King's Gambit in the next video, and then perhaps the final chapter as well, depending on how big the next battle is. It's seemingly getting bigger and bigger here. So for the first battle we had, what, 2 brigades? In this one we had 4, So reasonably, we might get 6 or something like that in the next one. Maybe even more. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this Rise of Frederick. Why was I saying something else? Frederick. And I can now adjust myself in my seat, and my sleeping leg will rest, which sounds weird. But yes, there we have it. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye.